You sit in the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency Cybercrime Unit at 1:43 in the morning, in that dead hour where the air conditioners sound louder than people. 2023. Fluorescent lights hum above rows of empty desks. Your cup noodles went cold an hour ago. The half-updated Windows 10 workstation in front of you displays a migration progress bar for the National Case Management System. And your job tonight is the definition of mindless. Clean up hundreds of mislabeled legacy reports from 2018 and 2019 as the system moves everything over to the newer KICS interface. Your eyes glaze over the same categories again and again. Noise complaint, online defamation, runaway teen. Then one line freezes you cold. Category: family conflict/runaway teen. Subnotes: telegram, doctor, room, threaten to post videos. Nth. You click. A 2019 statement from a terrified high school girl in Daegu fills the screen. She describes a man on Telegram calling himself doctor, demanding tasks, threatening to leak everything to her parents and school. It reads exactly like the Nth Room explainer threads you remember from 2020. Those threads that were quickly scrubbed from portals, dismissed as unverified rumor, then quietly forgotten. But in this timeline, the girl's report was closed in a single day as voluntary obscene material. No punishable offense, no referral to cybercrime, no escalation, just a tick box and a signature from a local duty officer who does not work here anymore. In our real history, similar reports helped trigger the Nth Room investigations that publicly exploded in 2020. In yours, this one was misclassified and buried. This is the divergence. April 2019, one duty officer in a small Daegu precinct clicks the wrong category, and his commander orders the case closed to avoid overloading cyber. The Nth Room does not get its first serious look. It keeps growing. Your cursor hovers over reopen case. If you click, the system will log your name, notify internal oversight, and drag you into whatever this is. If you do not, the file goes back into the dark. What would you do here? Reopen it, or pretend you never saw it? You click. A warning flashes across the screen in red text. This case has been previously reviewed. Do not touch this file. Someone has already been here, and they did not want you to follow. You ignore the warning. Your finger hovers over the confirmation button for only a second before you click. The system logs the alert instantly. A red banner materializes across the top of your screen. Legacy case reopened 32 and administrative review notified. You can feel it, that invisible shift in attention. Somewhere in this building, or maybe in some server farm monitoring every keystroke, something has turned its focus toward you. But for now, for these first few minutes, nothing happens. It is just you, the monitor's pale glow, and a 4-year-old plea typed by a terrified girl who thought the police could help. You print everything, the girl's statement, the blurry screenshots she attached showing partial telegram messages, the duty officer's notes scrawled in the margin, claims coercion via telegram, no physical assault, advised to delete app. That is it. No mention of forwarding to cybercrime. No request to preserve digital evidence, just bureaucratic shrink-wrapping of a catastrophe, neat and efficient. You dial the phone number listed in the report. The line connects, then delivers that sterile recorded message. This number is not in service. You try the parent contact. It rings 3 times, then drops into silence. A strange, brief moment of clarity arrives when you dial a 3rd number. An emergency contact. A tired older woman answers and confirms the girl's name, but the moment you identify yourself as police, her voice turns to steel. "We already tried the police," she says flatly, and the line goes dead. The report lists the originating station. A small precinct on the outskirts of Daegu. You book a KTX ticket for the next morning, telling yourself this is routine follow-up. Nothing obsessive. The train rumbles beneath you for 2 hours, rain streaking past windows, countryside blurring into industrial sprawl. The precinct building sits on a drab corner lot, low and slightly shabby, with a fading vinyl banner about community policing strung across the entrance. Inside, the duty desk officer scans your sole credentials and grows visibly stiff when you recite the legacy case number. He tells you the original reporting officer left due to health issues. Stress disorder, he says, with a kind of vague emphasis that means do not ask more. You ask to see his old desk anyway. The desk officer exchanges a glance with someone in the back office. After a reluctant pause, you are led to a corner cubicle half cleared of personal items, dust outlines marking where a monitor once stood. You open the drawers. Old memos, traffic fine forms, a coffee-stained notepad. Then, jammed into the very back of the bottom drawer, a sticky note curled and yellowed. Dr. Park / at Nth something / account number, 9050, ... Someone was taking this seriously once. Someone was chasing the doctor years ago, before the case was closed and filed away. The moment you straighten with the note in your hand, the station chief appears in the doorway. He is a man worn smooth by too many shifts and too many small scandals. The kind of supervisor who has learned to deflect everything. He insists the case was reviewed correctly, and that the girl refused to cooperate further. You show him the sticky note. He shrugs, laughs it off. Kids write usernames for games now. Detective, you know how it is. Then his tone shifts just slightly, too casual to be innocent. The officer who took that report became obsessive, he says. It was not good for him. Do not let an old file ruin your career. It is a warning wrapped in concern, and it makes your skin crawl. You track the ex-officer down anyway. The HR system gives you a forwarding address. He lives in a cramped office cell near a busy road, the kind of place where the traffic noise never stops. Curtains drawn at midday, empty soju bottles lined like witnesses along the kitchen counter. He refuses to open the door at first. When you show your badge through the peephole and say the girl's name aloud, the lock clicks. He looks worse than you imagined. Unwashed hair, hollowed eyes, hands that tremble when he gestures you inside. He remembers everything. He remembers how she cried describing the room, how the man called doctor knew her school schedule, her parents' names, her exam scores. He remembers files he tried to escalate, emails that bounced back marked to undeliverable, a commander who told him Telegram is impossible to trace. We do not chase rumors, and an HR meeting where his emotional instability was formally noted in his file. Then he tells you about the late-night calls. Blocked numbers. A low male voice saying, "We see what you downloaded, officer. Do not play hero." You feel your pulse quicken. This was not just bureaucratic indifference. This was pressure, direct targeted pressure. When you ask if he kept anything from the investigation, he hesitates. His eyes flick toward the kitchenette. Then slowly he kneels and peels back a corner of peeling linoleum, retrieves a USB thumb drive taped to the underside of the counter. "I unplugged my work PC and copied everything before they took it," he whispers. "If you plug this into a police machine, you will trigger flags. They will know you are looking." He looks at you like someone already condemned, trying to decide if he wants you to join him in that ruin. What would you do here? Press him for everything, even if it means dragging him back into this nightmare, or respect his terror and walk away with just what you have on paper. You decide to press. You tell him the case is reopened. You tell him the girl may still be in danger, that whatever crushed him cannot be allowed to repeat. Slowly, like a man handing over a live grenade, he closes your fingers around the USB. "Then do not make my mistake," he says quietly. "Do not trust your own system. Back in Seoul long after normal hours, you sit in the digital forensics lab with an air-gapped workstation, a standalone PC not connected to any police network. You insert the USB, half expecting malware to fry the hardware. The directory opens cleanly. Folders labeled 2019 chat capture, bank list, username maps. You open a random chat log file, expecting archived data from 2019. Timestamps load at the top of the text file. The 12th of May 2023, 2103 KST. The 12th of May 2023, 2107 KST. 2 weeks ago, the Nth Room, or something that evolved from it, did not die in 2020 in this timeline. It never surfaced. It never exploded on national television. It just kept innovating, quietly, efficiently, out of sight. And now you are staring at its living veins. Still pulsing with fresh traffic, you stare at the timestamp glowing on the air-gapped monitor. May 12, 2023, 2 weeks ago. The text of the chat log is chillingly mundane. Usernames asking about prices, discussing tasks, coordinating schedules. Nothing supernatural here, just transaction after transaction. Cruelty broken down into a pricing table, formatted like someone selling concert tickets. You are not chasing a ghost. This is active, operational. It can be stopped. You call G1 from Digital Forensics, the only person in the building you trust to keep something this sensitive air-gapped. She arrives 40 minutes later in a faded hoodie, and SMP a badge clipped to her jeans, hair tied back, eyes already sharpening as she scrolls through the file directories. This is Nth Room architecture, she mutters without looking away from the screen. But they have moved beyond Telegram. Together, you parse the logs line by line. Mentions of the old TG main room, mixed with links to invite-only Discord servers, foreign registered domain names hosted through Cloudflare, purchase confirmations, routed via Korean cryptocurrency exchanges that forced real name verification. Back in 2018, they evolved. They adapted to every policy South Korea built to stop them, and they did it in silence. You decide to try the official route first. On your networked workstation back at your desk, you open the internal case management system and type into the search bar, Nth Room. The system freezes for a moment. The spinning circle mocks you. Then it returns a blank screen. No historic cases, no references, no results found. Just a bare search interface, as if the scandal that dominated headlines and social media in our 2020 never happened here at all. You try again. Doctor, same result. Telegram room. Same result. You remember the vague threads on DC Inside back in 2020. The talk shows where hosts danced around something terrible without naming it. The hashtags that briefly trended, and then vanished without any concrete perpetrators ever being printed in newspapers. In this timeline, the story never solidified. It remained rumor, treated by platforms as a defamation risk, by prosecutors as an unverifiable headache. And now you see why. When you dig deeper into the system configurations, buried under administration settings you technically should not be accessing, you find a filter list created in August 2020, blocked internal search terms, Nth Room, Doctor, Telegram Room, all flagged as sensitive, unverified conspiracy. The entire justice system has internally blacklisted the very words you need to investigate this case. You bring printouts from the USB to your captain. He is a reasonable man, methodical, not prone to panic. He looks genuinely disturbed as you lay out the chronology. The 2019 report, Dagus closure, the ex-officer's harassment, the 2023 timestamps. He rubs his eyes with the heels of his palms, sighs heavily, and says, "You did good work bringing this back to the surface." Then he lowers his voice. He tells you that after the initial online rumors circulated in 2020, The Blue House informally encouraged agencies not to use the term Nth Room publicly or internally to avoid inspiring copycats and causing mass panic. Any digital sex crime was to be categorized under generic codes. No special task force, no name, no narrative that could spiral into political disaster. He instructs you to open a new case file under the bureaucratic label, Digital Sexual Exploitation Encrypted Platform. But he warns you in a tone that makes your chest tighten. No press, no leaks, no dramatic labels. We handle this quietly, or we do not handle it at all. You contact a KISA analyst you vaguely know from a joint seminar on cybercrime trends. Over a secure messaging line, she admits, this is not the first time similar traffic patterns were spotted. We flagged a cluster in late 2021, she says. But the request for expanded monitoring authority died on someone's desk. Too expensive, too invasive, too much political risk. She sends you a sanitized dataset of financial transactions, repeated small transfers to the same bank accounts, cryptocurrency exchange cash outs, all mapped to verified phone numbers used to open the accounts. Data hard leads. Real names somewhere in this chain. You run the phone numbers through the law enforcement database. Most return generic results. Then one number stops you cold. It is saved in your personal contacts under a nickname. Your younger cousin's university friend. The girl who always recommended new apps and study group chats. Who seemed to know every digital trend before it hit mainstream. Your stomach turns. You call your cousin. She answers on the fourth ring. Her voice is guarded. When you ask about her friend, she says she went abroad suddenly last year and changes the subject too quickly. Her voice trembles at the edges. When you press and ask if everything is okay with her own phone, her own apps, she snaps. You are not calling us family. You're calling us police. Are you not? The line goes dead. What would you do right now? Push harder, risking the relationship with someone you grew up with, to ask if she has ever been in one of these rooms, or leave it alone, terrified of what the answer might reveal about how close this horror actually is to your own life. You decide to call back. No answer. You send a message. The blue chat bubble sits on your screen, unread. On your desk, the USB logs keep blinking. Jiwon refreshes the files and points to a new line that was not there an hour ago. User Manager Edu. New semester. New faces. Same rules. This is not a relic repeating its pattern. This is not an archive of old crimes. It is recruiting from the current generation of students. Quietly, methodically, under your nose tonight. The room you are hunting is alive right now. And you are still locked outside, staring at words you are not allowed to type into your own system. Somewhere in Seoul, someone just received an invitation. Somewhere, a countdown is ticking toward another coerced video. Another life shattered into compliance. And the institution you serve has preemptively blindfolded itself and called it prudence. You are done being locked out. If the system will not acknowledge Nth Room, you will walk into its successor yourself. You and Jiwon set up an undercover entry in her lab after hours. New prepaid SIM card, bought with cash from a convenience store in Gangnam, where the security cameras have been broken for months. A cheap Android phone with all default applications removed, hooked through a VPN exit node, routing through Amsterdam. You follow a chain of invite links scraped from the archived logs, short-lived URLs that now loop through mirror sites, hosted on servers in countries with lax enforcement. One works. A login screen appears for a platform called Private Guidance for Your Future. The interface is pastel colors, cartoon icons of books and coffee cups, all in Korean. It looks like every legitimate study app you have ever seen advertised on the subway. Once you are approved under a generic username that took you 20 minutes to craft, channels open with innocent names, language exchange, portfolio help, after-school part-time jobs. Hidden within, nested several layers beneath a premium members category, is a channel titled Nth Practice Alumni Only. Your stomach clenches. The moment you click, a bot asks you to verify seriousness with a small cryptocurrency payment. You use a test wallet G1 setup, follow the steps carefully, leaving nothing traceable. After a tense 15-minute wait, where you both stare at the screen in silence, the channel spills open. You see threads where accounts named manager and assistant post instructions, price lists, time slots. They refer to original doctor like a founding myth, a martyr, a legend who showed them the blueprint. Screenshots of chat conversations with girls who think they are applying for tutoring gigs, internships, modeling opportunities. References to tasks and proof of obedience are oblique, but unmistakable to you now. You recognize turns of phrase identical to the 2019 logs. Copy-pasted templates from the original Nth Room, slightly modernized for a post-pandemic generation that grew comfortable with Zoom rooms and remote work, who learned to trust screens. You take screenshots, note timestamps and usernames. Every second you linger, you risk detection. One line from manager sends a chill through your chest. Reminder, police, only know rumors. Our name never trends. They know exactly how invisible they are. You need victims, not just perpetrators. And official victim lists do not exist for a case that officially never happened. So you go to the people who have been collecting names in the dark, the NGO workers. You meet staff at a digital sex crime support center in Mapo, a cramped office above a fried chicken restaurant. Walls lined with faded pamphlets and boxes of tissues. They look at your badge with barely concealed hostility. They have heard promises before. They have watched politicians pose for photos and then defund their grants. When you mention Nth Room, one woman, maybe in her 40s with exhausted eyes, laughs bitterly. "We sent you people everything," she says, sliding a printed email across the table. It is from July 2022, addressed to the generic SMPA, Cyber Unit inbox. Subject line, ongoing Nth Room copycat operation urgent. The system auto-response at the bottom is sardonic in hindsight. "Thank you for your report. Due to high volume, we may not respond individually." You check on your phone while she watches. That inbox had an automated rule moving everything with Nth Room in the subject line into a subfolder labeled Unverified Rumors. Your predecessor's way of staying sane, of keeping the workload manageable, of not drowning. One staffer, Hai-Jin, younger than the others, sees how shaken you are. She hesitates, glances at her supervisor, then opens a locked filing cabinet and brings out a binder labeled Unresolved Survivors. Inside are pseudonyms with hand-scribbled details, ages, platforms, schools, sometimes partial phone numbers crossed out and rewritten. You flip through pages. Your hands are trembling slightly. You freeze at V47, age 19, Busan, approached through study group app, coerced into escalating tasks, attempted suicide in October 2021, then moved to an unknown address after an unexplained police visit. Cross-referenced with a phone number. You check it twice, the same number linked to your cousin's friend. Your own institution has already touched this girl's case and somehow left her to vanish. What would you do right now? Tell the NGO the full truth, that you are reopening a case your own unit buried, knowing they might leak it to the press and destroy your undercover work, or keep details vague, protect the investigation, and risk losing their trust forever. You decide to give them more than protocol allows. You admit the case was mishandled in 2019, that there is an active operation now, that you are trying to build something that cannot be ignored this time. Their faces soften a fraction, but the trust is thin as rice paper. Hygiene writes her personal number on a sticky note and hands it to you. "Do not make us regret this," she says. You take V47's last known address and travel to Busan the next morning, her former Gashuan room. A shoebox space, barely wide enough for a twin mattress, is already rented to someone else. The building manager, an older man with nicotine-stained fingers, remembers her leaving after some trouble with men in suits. He points to the door frame where faint scratches remain, carved into the painted wood. Lines and words etched in panic. He sees everything, next to a crudely drawn smartphone icon with a single staring camera lens. Back in your hotel room that night, you log into the Nth practice channel again on the burner phone. Someone has just posted 30 minutes ago, Busan branch closed. Asset relocated. Thank you for cooperation. They are ahead of you. Every time you take one step, they have already moved two. You try to access an internal report number you saw, scribbled in the NGO notes. Busan 211187. The system denies you immediately. You do not have clearance. Contact administrator. Minutes later, your desk phone in Seoul rings. Even though you are in Busan, the call forwards automatically to your mobile. A calm, unlisted internal voice says, "Detective, please stop trying to open Busan 211187. That matter is closed." Then the line goes dead. No name, no explanation, just a warning delivered in a tone so bureaucratic it could have been a reminder about your parking permit. Someone inside your own building is watching your searches in real time, and they do not want you to know what happened to V47. When you return to Seoul, there is an email waiting from the Inspection Division, Internal Affairs. Subject line: informal interview regarding legacy case activity. They invite you to a chat. The word invite does a lot of work in that sentence. You sit in a bland meeting room with beige walls and a humming air purifier. Across from you is an inspector in his 40s, neat suit, soft voice, eyes like a ledger. He offers you coffee, says he understands the frustration of cyber cases, jokes about kids and their encrypted apps. At first, the questions feel routine. When did you reopen the 2019 case? How did you meet the ex-officer? Where did the USB come from? You are almost relieved someone higher seems to be paying attention. Then the content shifts. His tone does not change, but the questions do. Has anyone outside the agency seen the logs? Have you spoken to journalists? To NGOs? He brings the Mapo Center by name, notes your presence in Busan, quotes your flight times from records you did not know were being tracked. The warmth in the room evaporates like water on hot asphalt. He slides a printed chart across the table. Your system access logs for the past week. Every attempt to search Nth. Every click on Busan 211187. Each is circled in red pen. The kind of pen used to mark errors on a school exam. He tells you that the original Daegu officer filed an internal complaint in 2019 about unaddressed digital exploitation, and that your reopened case is reviving old, resolved issues that were already administratively reviewed. In the file he shows you, the ex-officer is labeled unstable and prone to conspiracy theories, a troublemaker who could not let go. Still, when you insist the operation is active now, that you have infiltrated it yourself, the inspector does not outright dismiss you. He asks you to write a detailed memo for him alone, promising to see what can be done, without causing a media panic. He even hints he has a daughter in high school. You cling to that shred of shared motive, that faint suggestion of an ally. After the meeting, you return to your desk and try to access the USB-derived logs from your network drive. The folder is empty. Someone with higher privileges has wiped your copies. Your only remaining data exists on the air-gapped machine in Jiwon's lab and whatever you have printed and hidden in your apartment. G1 messages you from the lab an hour later. My access just got downgraded. Someone audited our machines. Be careful. You pivot to the one path that still feels like movement. The infrastructure. G1 has traced the current Ring's back-end servers to a small hosting company registered in a Seoul suburb, nominally handling overseas VPN nodes for business clients. On paper, the director is a former police IT consultant who left the force. In 2020, a physical entity, a business address, someone to raid. Finally, you submit a warrant request through the prosecutor's electronic system. The reply is a bland notification. Due to docket congestion, your hearing is scheduled in 58 days. You call the assigned prosecutor. He sighs, warns you that anything labeled Nth Room in a warrant will create headaches up the chain. Election season is coming. No one wants an online sex torture scandal on the front page during campaign season. He suggests you refile under a broader cybercrime category. Softer language. Less alarming. You draft an emergency data preservation order instead. Something you can justify under existing cybercrime statutes without a full warrant. You send it to the hosting company, asking them to freeze logs and not notify clients. A technical maneuver, quiet and procedural. Within hours, the Nth practice channels vanish. Links die. The site goes offline. Your undercover account is kicked out. Either someone tipped them off, or they were monitoring for any legal pressure and had an escape plan ready. That is when your undercover phone buzzes. A new message on the dormant app from a handle you have never seen. Dr. Park, you really should have left file 1904773 alone. Detective. He knows the legacy case number. The exact internal designation he knows is you. What would you do right now? Respond, pretending to be a disgruntled client to gain intelligence. Or shut it all and report the contact to your chain of command, risking that whoever has been burying this will bury this contact too. You choose to keep him talking, hands trembling. You reply as if you are a user upset about the sudden shutdown. Complain about the service interruption. Ask where the new room will be. He sends a smiley emoji then. New rooms are for those who prove loyalty. And you are still divided. Ask your family what happens to those who cannot choose. Your personal phone, your real one, never connected to the undercover work, vibrates on the desk beside you. Unknown number. A photo arrives. Your family's apartment building, shot from street level, tonight. The sodium streetlights cast that orange soul glow. Your aunt's silhouette is clear in the lit kitchen window. She is washing dishes. You recognize the shape of her shoulders, the way she stands. Another message follows immediately. Late shift again. Your aunt looked worried. For the first time, the horror steps fully out of the screen and into your real life. Not a file, not a case number, not a victim you have never met. Your aunt, your cousin, the people who raised you after your parents died. The ones who taught you what justice was supposed to mean. You stand so fast, your chair scrapes the floor. Your desk. Neighbor glances over, concerned. You force yourself to sit back, to breathe normally, to not show the panic tightening around your throat. You call your aunt. She answers on the third ring, sounds tired but fine. You tell her to lock all the doors and windows. Do not answer the door for anyone tonight. She asks if everything is all right. You say yes. Just a precaution. There have been some break-ins in the area. You are lying to her. She can hear it in your voice but does not press. You stare at the photo on your phone. Whoever took it was standing across the street, close enough to use a decent camera, close enough to follow her if they wanted, close enough to do more than just watch. The undercover phone buzzes again. One more message. You have 48 hours to stop accessing legacy files. After that, we stop being polite. No signature, no demands, just a timer. You look around the open office, colleagues typing reports, someone microwaving lunch. The ordinary hum of a Thursday afternoon. Any one of them could be watching you, or none of them, or someone in a completely different building with access to the same systems you thought were secure. The walls are not keeping you safe anymore. They never were. You call your aunt before you even think about protocol. You try to sound casual as you ask if everything is okay at home, if anyone strange has been around. She laughs it off, says only the delivery guy came by today, but you hear something in the background. The slight tremor of a window being locked, the metal rasp of a chain sliding into place. You tell her you might stop by soon with groceries, just because. She says that would be nice, her voice warm but puzzled. You rush over off duty and see them. Your aunt chopping vegetables, your cousin sprawled on the couch scrolling through her phone, the television droning a drama rerun. They are physically unharmed. The apartment smells like garlic and sesame oil, like every winter break from your childhood. The radiator clicks and hisses. Your cousin's backpack sits by the door, covered in embroidered patches from campus clubs. For a moment, the horror feels far away, like something that exists only on screens and in encrypted channels. Then you mention there have been some incidents near the building. Break-ins, you say. Just a precaution to keep doors locked. Your aunt nods, grateful for the reminder. Your cousin's shoulders tense. When you ask if any strange accounts have messaged her lately, she snaps. Is this an interrogation? In that half-joking, half-serious way that tells you have crossed a line. She goes back to her phone, but her thumb has stopped scrolling. Later, on the staircase as you leave, she follows you out. The fluorescent hallway light flickers above you, in a low voice. She admits she once joined a study group chat her friend recommended. Back in first year. Tasks, selfies, verification photos to prove you were really a student. It got weird, she says. Requests for more personal images, pressure to invite other friends. She left the chat after 2 weeks and blocked the admin. She assumes the pictures are gone. You know they probably are not. You know exactly where they went. Back in your car, your undercover phone buzzes. Dr. Park writes, "Family looks good. You should keep them that way." He demands proof that you are done pretending to be a hero. His test is simple and surgical. Erase all traces of the original Daegu report. File 1904773 from the live case system. Not just close it. Delete it. That file is a seed, he says. Kill the seed or I water your family's tree. You understand the weight of this. That file is your only legitimate bridge between an official record and the underground evidence. If you delete it, you sever your case's legal backbone. Any future prosecution would have to start from scratch. Years of institutional memory erased. But if you do not comply, the man who sent you a photo of your aunt's kitchen will interpret it as defiance, and he has already shown you what defiance costs. A desperate workaround forms in your mind. The National Case Archive keeps paper backups in off-site storage, older files that have not been fully digitized. If you can get a certified copy of the 2019 report out of the physical archives first, you might erase it from the system while preserving its content in your own hands. A shadow file, evidence that exists but does not officially exist. You visit the Central Records Center the next morning. An anonymous concrete building in Yeongdongpo, filled with steel shelves and cardboard boxes. A sleepy clerk checks your badge, wheels out a cart of dusty folders organized by year and district. In the dim basement, you flip through binders until you find it. The girl's original handwritten statement, the officer's notes, the date stamp from April 2019. The ink has faded slightly. The paper smells like mold and old toner. You scan every page with your phone, every margin scribble, every witness contact that was never followed. The files feel like the bones of cases everyone decided not to remember. Back at headquarters, you log into the system to perform what Doctor demanded. Deleting a case outright is impossible without leaving a trail, but you can corrupt its path. You reclassify it as misfiled/false report, triggering archival compression that will bury it deeper and cut off normal access. As you hit confirm, you feel a physical nausea like you are reaching into your own chest and snapping something. The screen flashes green. File status updated. The seed is killed. Within an hour, Internal Affairs calls. They summon you again, this time with less coffee and more accusation. They show you logs of your reclassification. Evidence tampering, they say. Pattern of unauthorized access. Now alteration. You insist you were correcting a mislabeled file, that the original report was filed in error. They note your prior reprimands, your Nth Room obsession, your contact with NGOs. By the end of the meeting, your system credentials are suspended. Your badge is taken temporarily pending review. They give you a receipt for it, like you are checking a coat. Your undercover phone vibrates in your pocket as they speak. Later, outside on the street with buses roaring past, you read the message. Good. One door closed. You might yet be useful. Then another. Next, we test how far you will go for your cousin's friends. He sends a blurred still from a recent recruitment clip, a girl in partial shadow, wearing a university hoodie with your cousin's campus logo. The face is obscured, but the outline, the posture, the cheap dorm room behind her, all of it is familiar. You have seen that exact cinder block wall texture before when you picked your cousin after her midterms. What would you do right now? Pull your cousin aside and tell her everything, risking that she will hate you and panic, or keep lying, trying to fix it alone, while she walks through campus surrounded by unseen cameras. You decide you cannot dump the full horror on her yet. Not without a plan, not without being able to promise her safety. Instead, you text her that a stalker has targeted families of officers and she should crash at a friend place for a few days, just in case. She thinks you are being overprotective again, but she agrees, with an eye-roll emoji. She does not know you just traded your career to buy her 72 hours. That night, as you sit in your darkened apartment with your badge on the table and your work computer locked out, an email from the NGO appears. Subject: V47 update. Attached is a scanned image. Low resolution. Taken with a phone. A police business card found in V47's old room when her parents finally emptied it last year. Busan Metropolitan Police. Cyber support. On the back, in handwriting that looks rushed and frightened, are two words: he watches. You realize V47 did reach out to the police again in 2021. Someone visited her, and after that visit, she vanished from the record entirely. No more hospital admissions, no more social services contact, just silence. And now, stripped of your authority, you have just proven to Doctor that you are willing to break the rules for him. You have shown him exactly how far you will bend before you break. The question is, what does he make you do next? Suspended. You sit at your kitchen table with the photocopied 2019 file spread out like contraband. Pages of faded handwriting, witness contact information that was never followed. A girl's statement that reads like a scream. No one heard. Without your badge or system access, you are effectively just another citizen with disturbing documents. The only advantages you have left are the air-gapped USB mirror and Ji-won's loyalty. She meets you in a cafe far from the station, using the excuse of old friends catching up over coffee. The place is crowded enough for anonymity, loud enough that no one listens. She slides you a small external solid-state drive under the table, wrapped in a coffee shop napkin. She has cloned the USB contents onto a device she keeps off any network. Your evidence is not gone. It is merely gone from their system. She tells you to be careful, that people are asking about you in the break room, questions wrapped in concern that feel more like reconnaissance. You tell her about your forced reclassification of the Daegu case, the suspension, the messages from Doctor. She stares at you, horrified and impressed in equal measure. She suggests something neither of you wanted to consider before, going outside the institution. Journalists, lawmakers, NGO as alternate routes. Each path is lined with its own dangers, career-ending retaliation, legal exposure, the risk of tipping off whoever inside the system is watching. But staying silent is no longer an option. Your phone buzzes with a call from the ex-Daegu officer, the one who gave you the USB drive. His voice is slurred, panicked, breathing hard like he has been running. He says 2 men came to his door an hour ago, asking about old USB drives, flashing what looked like internal identification. When he stalled, they tried to push their way in. He fled out the fire escape with only his wallet and his phone. He says he is going to get on a bus, any bus, disappear for a while. Then the line crackles and cuts. When you call back, it goes straight to voicemail. You call 3 more times. Nothing. You realize Doctor is not just playing technical games anymore. There are physical visits now. Knock on the door intimidation. People in or near your own institution who answer to him. The horror is no longer contained to encrypted channels and screen pixels. It has addresses. It knocks. That realization is exactly what convinces you to stop trying to fix this quietly. You reach out to an investigative journalist known for covering digital sex crimes and misogynistic online communities. You do not send everything, not yet. Instead, you send a curated packet, screenshots of the current study platform, redacted logs showing institutional suppression, the internal search filter list blacklisting Nth Room from case queries, and a blurred version of the scratched doorframe photo. He sees everything. The journalist responds within an hour. She has been chasing whispers about Nth Room still alive for years, dismissed as conspiracy clickbait by editors who wanted hard proof. Now she finally has a police source, even if you are a suspended one. She asks for a meeting. You agree, but you know you still have to survive Doctor's next test before any story can publish. He sends you a new demand that same evening, sabotage an unrelated, minor cyber case. He gives you its case number, a local revenge pornography investigation in a different district, and tells you to make sure it never reaches prosecution. He wants proof you are willing to harm someone else's justice, not just juggle labels on your own files. He is testing how deep your corruption goes. You no longer have system access, but he does not know that. You bluff. You tell him you will take care of it, then scramble to find another way to satisfy him without destroying yet another victim's case. You call a trusted colleague in that district, pretending you are asking about docket backlog for a training project. The case exists. A real victim, still pending. An idea forms. Instead of killing the case, you try to wrap it faster. Call in a favor to move it forward in the queue. You figure if a conviction comes through quickly, Doctor may see his demand as moot. You are trying to beat his timeline with speed. Instead of sabotage, it backfires. Internal Affairs notice your calls to other districts, your sudden interest in cases outside your jurisdiction. They officially open a disciplinary case against you for interference with active investigations and unauthorized contact with external media. Your superior sends you a formal letter ordering you not to communicate with any Seoul Metropolitan Police personnel about your former duties without written permission. You are being walled off, isolated, made irrelevant. Then Doctor messages again. Nice try. I already had the victim's name. I only needed to see if you would touch the file at all. Watching you squirm is informative. He knew about the case long before he told you. His test was not about that victim. It was about mapping your willingness to bend, measuring the exact pressure point where your ethics crack, and you gave him that data. That evening, Hai-Jin from the NGO calls, voice tight with controlled excitement. A survivor recognized a background sound in a leaked clip, an elevator chime, unique to a cram school building near Gangnam. She sends you an audio file. You listen to it 3 times. Then you remember, you have ridden that elevator before, 2 years ago during a community policing training program. The chime is distinctive, a 3-note melody instead of a standard ding. A location you can physically go to right now. No warrants, no permissions, just you, a building, and an elevator. Chime. You go at night, as classes wind through their final hours. Kids in backpacks shuffle out, faces pale with exhaustion. Neon signs flicker promises of top university placement or your money back. Motivational posters line the lobby. Success is the only option. You ride the elevator slowly, listening. On the 5th floor, the chime matches perfectly. The corridor is quiet now. A few doors still lit, air conditioning humming, the smell of instant coffee and dry erase markers. Your undercover phone vibrates. A notification from the platform. Orientation session starts in 10 minutes. New faces welcome. You stand in the dim hallway, staring at an unmarked door between a math academy and a TOEIC prep class. You can hear the soft whir of a computer, fan on the other side, the faint click of a mechanical keyboard. Someone is in there right now. Someone is about to begin an orientation session for new recruits, new victims, new participants in a system that has survived every attempt to kill it. What would you do right now? Knock and confront whoever is inside, alone and suspended, with no backup and no legal authority, or retreat and try once more to drag a reluctant system into this hallway with you, knowing that by the time they arrive, the room will be empty and scrubbed. You choose to step forward. Your hand reaches for the handle. The metal is cold. Behind you, the elevator chime rings again, 3 notes in the darkness. Like a countdown you cannot stop. The door is unlocked. You do not kick the door in. You do something scarier, you knock gently, the way a parent might when picking up a child from cram school. There is a pause, then the sound of a chair scraping across tile. A young man opens the door a crack, just wide enough for his face to appear in the gap. Inside, you glimpse fluorescent light, desks arranged in rows, a whiteboard covered with English phrases and grammar examples. It looks like any other study room. He wears a hoodie, glasses, the awkward posture of a tutor who has not slept enough. His hair is unwashed. There is a coffee stain on his sleeve. For a heartbeat, you think you have mistaken the door. Maybe this really is just a normal academy, and you are about to humiliate yourself in front of a tired graduate student trying to pay off loans. You show him a fake business card you prepared earlier, pretending to be a parent interested in enrolling a niece. He relaxes slightly, shoulders dropping, but then he glances nervously over your shoulder at the elevator, as if expecting someone else. His eyes flick to your phone screen, still in your hand. The notification banner is visible. Orientation session live. His pupils dilate when he sees it. He knows exactly what that phrase means. He tells you classes are over, that you should come back next week during business hours. He begins to close the door, polite but final. You wedge your foot in the gap, your voice low and calm. You say the alias of one of the usernames from the logs, a string of numbers and letters you memorized. His face drains of color, going from pale to gray in the space of a breath. He slams the door. You hear rapid footsteps, a chair knocked over, drawers pulled open with metal-on-metal scraping. You push in, shoulder against the wood, and the lock gives easier than expected. But it is a narrow space, desks creating a maze, and by the time you reach the back, a second door is swinging shut. The emergency stairwell exit. His footsteps echo, fading fast. The main room is empty now. Chairs still warm. The whiteboard marker rolling slowly off a desk and hitting the floor with a plastic clatter. But the smaller side room, separated by a partition, is not empty at all. There, you find a makeshift streaming setup, cheap ring light on a tripod, laptop balanced on textbooks, curtain backdrop stretched across a clothing rack, and a pile of neatly folded uniforms and props. School uniforms, nurse scrubs, pajamas with cartoon characters. On the screen, a browser window is open to an admin dashboard for a study support platform. The live orientation session is still running, but the video feed is from elsewhere. Another location, multiple camera angles. The chat scrolls in real time. Users joke about field trips and auditing the auditor, laughing emojis cascading past questions about when the next session starts. You realize the orientation you saw scheduled is not just for victims. It is for you. They have been watching you watch them, framing your investigation as content, as a performance, as something to bet on in chat rooms you cannot see. You plug a portable drive into the laptop and begin copying logs in frantic bursts, IP addresses, session ID, admin chat transcripts. You manage to clone several gigabytes. Progress bar crawling across the screen, green filling the empty gray. Then the transfer fails. Connection lost. Someone, somewhere, has killed the network remotely. At that moment, your phone rings. It is the local police. Someone has reported a suspicious person trespassing in their building, claiming to be a parent, but acting like a cop, asking strange questions, forcing their way into private rooms. You have no badge to flash, no official assignment to cite. You are just a suspended detective in a room full of incriminating technology that you cannot explain without sounding paranoid or complicit. Security arrives with a patrol officer. In the cramped space, the ring light flattening everyone's faces into washed-out masks, you try to explain. The officer takes your identification, notes your suspension status in his handheld terminal, and his expression shifts from curiosity to wariness. To him, you are a liability, not a colleague. He asks why you are here. You say you received a tip. He asks from whom. You cannot answer without exposing the NGO, the journalist, the entire fragile network you have built outside the institution. They confiscate the laptop and your portable drive for evidence, promising someone from cyber will look at it. You know what that means. If the same compromised channels that buried case 1904773 touch this hardware, whatever you just copied could vanish into internal limbo, reclassified, scrubbed, forgotten. At the station, they hold you for hours, not as a suspect exactly, but as a problem. You sign statements about why you were there, what you were doing, whether you had permission. By the time they let you go, it is past midnight. The fluorescent lights have given you a headache that pulses behind your eyes like a second heartbeat. Outside the station, as you light a cigarette you do not even want, the patrol officer from the building sidles toward you in the parking lot shadows. He presses your portable drive into your hand. They logged it, he whispers, but the tech guy was slow. I swapped it for an empty one. My daughter is 12. I am not an idiot. He walks away before you can say thank you, disappearing into the humid night. You go home and plug the drive into your own offline laptop, hands shaking from adrenaline and nicotine. The logs open. You see more than you expected. Admin chat between manager, assistant, and doctor, debating whether to give the detective a tour, mocking internal affairs memos by case number, referencing specific inspection reports. They have been reading your file. They know your movements before you make them. That night, news articles appear online. Suspended cyber officer caught trespassing in cram school. Police involved in unauthorized surveillance. Anonymous sources imply you might have been collecting material yourself. Comment sections explode with speculation, some connecting your name to the NGO leaks, painting you as either a crusader or a criminal, depending on which forum you read. Your phone blows through its battery with messages, some from colleagues telling you to lawyer up, others from unknown numbers sending threats and insults, calling you things you will not repeat. Amid the noise, one encrypted email comes through. Subject line, "I was inside." The message is brief. "I helped run the bots. I can give you the core server location and 3 real names, but no badges, no cameras. If you bring the system, I die. If you do not come, more girls do." You stare at the screen. This person claims to be one of them, an assistant, a bot operator who wants out, or wants leverage, or wants to watch you walk into another trap. What would you do right now? Trust an anonymous message from someone who admits to participating in the exploitation of dozens of victims? Or forward this email to the very institution you no longer trust, hoping someone clean is left inside to act on it? You draft a reply, fingers hovering over the keyboard, knowing that whichever path you choose will decide whether you become a whistleblower, an accomplice, or a target with a timestamp on your remaining safety. You meet the assistant in the loudest place you can think of, the food court in Coex Mall at lunchtime, where the noise and crowds offer camouflage. You go without a badge, without official backup, carrying only a hidden audio recorder in your jacket pocket and a printed copy of one admin chat that mentions Assistant 03 by name. A young person sits at a table near the escalator, fidgeting with a paper cup, short hair, neutral clothes, the universal look of someone trying not to be noticed. When you say the alias quietly, leaning forward over the sticky tabletop, they flinch, but they do not run. They look you in the eye and say, "I thought you would be older." They describe their role with the flat affect of someone reciting a resume. They wrote and maintained blackmail bots that scraped social media, matched usernames across platforms, and scheduled tasks. Their job was mostly technical, back-end work, API calls and database queries. But they saw enough to know. Girls crying on muted webcams, payments flowing in through cryptocurrency mixers, internal jokes about grades and scholarships as if the whole operation were some kind of twisted academy. They say the real power is not in the videos themselves. It is in the automation. The system does not sleep. It does not get bored. It scales. Then they tell you something that makes your stomach drop. Doctor is not a person. It is a title assigned to whichever core admin handles discipline at any given time. The original may be gone, arrested for something minor and unrelated, moved abroad to teach English, or simply bored and retired. The role outlived him. The current doctor, they think, is someone in his 30s, with access to telecom metadata through an uncle who used to work liaison between telecom companies and police. Someone who knows exactly how long it takes to trace a warrant and which jurisdictions to avoid. They slide you a folded piece of paper under the table, fingers trembling. On it is an IP address range, a physical address for a small office above a PC, bang in Gangnam, and 3 names. The hosting company director you already found. A mid-level telecom employee who once served as liaison to SMPA, and a prosecutor's aide. The aide's name hits you like a blow to the chest. You saw it in the CC lines on your own warrant denial email, the one that buried case 1904773 before it could breathe. You finally have something specific enough to act on. A cluster of suspects tying the ring to infrastructure and to the justice system itself. You start to ask a follow-up question, but your source's phone vibrates on the table. They glance at the screen and go pale, skin turning the color of old paper. They mutter, "He knows," and stand up so quickly they nearly knock over the table. You try to calm them, reaching across, but they bolt, weaving through the crowd of office workers and students eating jjajangmyeon and tteokbokki. You push after them, past stroller-wielding parents and teenagers taking selfies, but the food court is a maze of exits. As your source reaches the mall entrance, a delivery scooter roars past on the sidewalk outside, nearly plowing into them. It swerves at the last second, clips their bag, and papers scatter everywhere like white leaves. People shout. The rider speeds off, helmet visor down, no license plate visible. In the chaos, mall security swarms. By the time you reach the exit, your source is gone. You go home and do the only thing left. You open your encrypted chat with the journalist and send everything. Names, logs, the filter list, photos of scratched door frames, anonymized testimony from the NGO, the assistant's note with its 3 devastating names. You tell her to verify what she can and publish. If you do not hear from me in 24 hours, you add, send the rest to every outlet you know. Within a day, the story hits. Hidden Nth Room successor ring tied to telecom and justice insiders. The headline screams across every portal. Screenshots of admin chats and blurred victim clips appear on primetime news. Hashtags trend. Old anger from 2020 that never had closure ignites again. Hotter this time. People flood comment sections, demanding answers from SMPA, from KISA, from the Ministry of Justice. Prosecutors announce an emergency task force. Politicians call for hearings. Suddenly, the term Nth Room is no longer filtered. It is plastered across every news site, every YouTube thumbnail, every social media feed. But the government frames the scandal carefully. They call it a copycat ring exploiting old rumors, not the continuation you know it is. Officials emphasize there is no evidence of systemic cover-up, only individual misconduct currently under investigation. And by individual misconduct, they mean you, the ex-officer, any convenient scapegoat who ever touched case 1904-773. Internal Affairs serves you with notice of potential criminal charges for leaking confidential information and interfering with active investigations. Commenters on some sites start calling you a clout-chasing officer who made up stories to get on television. Others suggest you were part of the ring all along and turned to save yourself. The logic is twisted, but effective. Why else would a suspended detective have so much inside information? Then the ring strikes back online. Anonymous accounts leak partial clips, claiming many victims were willing cam girls chasing money, not coerced minors. Deepfake versions of some videos appear, muddying what is real and what is fabricated. Victim shaming spreads like a stain. Your aunt's name surfaces in a blog post, accusing her of bad parenting. Your cousin gets direct messages, saying, "Did you audition too?" In the middle of all this, a junior prosecutor from the new task force contacts you from a personal email address. She asks to meet in a government annex after hours. You go, bearing the portable drive, the assistant's note, everything, in a bare conference room with humming fluorescent lights and water. Stained ceiling tiles. She lays out their preliminary findings. Bank transfers from the hosting company to a retired telecom liaison, the same man who used to brief your unit about how to get data quickly without warrants. Those payments, in turn, link to a consultancy that provides digital risk assessments for high-ranking officials. The prosecutor admits quietly that one of her own bosses appears in the edges of that web, his name buried in a subsidiary's board listing. She asks for everything you have, every piece of evidence, every contact, every lead. What would you do right now? Trust this junior prosecutor and funnel all your remaining evidence into the official task force, risking that it will be neutered by the same system that buried the case before? Or keep some aside, continuing to leak strategically from the outside, ensuring nothing can be fully contained? You decide to give her most of it, but not all. You keep the core server IP and the exact office location above the PC bang for yourself. Insurance in case the task force stalls or someone sabotages the investigation from within. As you slide the drive across the table, she says, Then you will come as a civilian advisor tomorrow. We are doing raids. Dawn in Seoul. You sit in the back of an unmarked van, no longer as a detective but as consultant, a word that tastes like ashes. Outside, other vehicles idle. KCSI vans, prosecution cars, a telecom security team drafted in at the last minute. Warrants have been signed. The retired telecom liaison's apartment, the hosting office above the PC bang, and a secondary site flagged by your logs are all on the list. For once the system moves in your direction. Doors are knocked, then forced. Hard drives are bagged. At the office, rows of humming servers fill a cramped back room, their LED light blinking like a wall of tiny eyes watching nothing. On one, KCSI confirms, sits a compressed archive with millions of messages and thousands of media files. Even as suspects are cuffed, the liaison protesting that he only sold consulting, the hosting director mumbling about just bandwidth. Your phone buzzes, an anonymous message. You caught one limb. We cached the brain offshore years ago. Doctor is a franchise now. In the weeks that follow, you watch the fallout. Some officials resign. Hearings are held. The task force credits brave officers and citizens without naming you. Internal charges against you quietly evaporate. But your career is over. No one wants a colleague who leaks and digs. Through the NGO, you finally meet V47. She sits across from you in a small counseling room, hands wrapped around a paper cup of barley tea. She is alive, living under a new name. But every vibration of her phone makes her flinch. I thought I imagined it sometimes, she says. Thought I exaggerated. When your story came out, I realized it was worse than I remembered. And somehow, that helped. You leave the agency soon after, walking through Seoul at night, as screens glow in every hand, cameras in every doorway. You wonder how many other rooms never trend, never get a name, never get a task force. In another world, the Nth Room exploded in 2020, and reforms came sooner. In this one, a misclick in 2019, and a culture of rumor management bought the ring 4 extra years of unseen victims. And in your world, the one where you are watching this video right now, how many files were mislabeled? How many warnings filtered as unverified? How many doctors still feel untouchable behind their screens? What would you do if you found that one buried? Report, obey the filters, or break the system to drag it into the light. If this story made you think, if it made you uncomfortable in the right way, subscribe to Concrete Fear. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to understand how silence becomes complicity. Comment below with what you would do in this situation. Because horror is not always fiction. Sometimes it is just history, slightly tilted, asking what if we looked away a little longer. Thank you for watching, and remember, the rooms have no walls. They exist wherever we choose not to see them.